Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say this week's guest is Billy Dodds, former player and manager as well, and an illustrious career that rewarded you with 26 caps for Scotland. Billy, I've been chasing you for so long to get you into this, just basically because, in a strange sort of way, of the players that I have admired down through the years, I've always looked at your career and I thought, you remind me of one of my best pals in John Robertson, that type of striker whose work rate was sensational, but scored goals in the area where Robbo used to say, that's what I'm paid to do, that 18-yard box.
Here, you're telling me that when I've just got rid of Robbo after working with him for a year at Inverness, 2 years at Inverness. Well, he was a top striker, wasn't he? So I didn't mould my game in Robbo. Obviously, he's a bit older than me, but it was weird because Davy Cooper was the one I looked up to with Kenny Dalglish, big backside, didn't have much pace, had to use my brain a wee bit, and I was quite sharp, so I had to model myself as somebody, and it was Dalglish.
Yeah, it was that your early hero when you were, yeah. I mean, he was absolutely fabulous. From your point of view, I mean, did you feel as if your career came easy to you? Because as a boy in Ayrshire, suddenly you're thrust into the limelight. The local papers must have been saying, Dodds signs for Chelsea.
I think they did, the Cumnock Chronicle it was. No, it didn't come easily. I had to graft for everything that I ever had and ever get rewarded with was just sheer hard graft. And with my dad being a coal miner in Ayrshire and my mum working in a sock factory, it was nothing. You couldn't have any other choice apart to graft. So to get that move to Chelsea was something else.
Yeah, I know you're very proud of the area and you've got really strong family values. That foundation seems to have stayed with you throughout your career when I've followed you and interviewed you and chatted to you.
I'm regularly back down in New Cumnock, obviously to see my old dear. My dad sadly passed away, so but just to go down and see her regularly. So I've got a great affiliation with the area, still get loads of pals there, and I still go down really often. So in fact I end up in blooming Dunmellington bingo the other week there, take my mum there, so that's kind of lifestyle I've got now, Peter.
Yeah, and with that in mind, do you think that strong link there made it difficult for you to settle when you went down south to London?
That was the years of, remember the green phone cards you used to get, and I was in digs with Craig Burley as well, down in London, and used to go rattle away and make the phone call and stick it in. You end up swearing in the phone box because that beep when you're running out of time.
Trying to fit everything into your mouth.
It was a nightmare. And those days you weren't paid well, so you weren't getting just jumping the plane coming up the road. So it was hard times even though I was down there, and it wasn't that far away. But then it seemed a distance away, a lifetime away from your family. So I was really homesick, hence I got a wee move when I was younger. I got a loan move to Partick Thistle.
Yeah, just on that point, you'll have to explain it to a certain generation who will not be aware of this, but Billy Dodds...
Am I that old now?
Well, I was going to say
to you... explain it to a certain generation.
Billy Dodds was a YTS. What was a YTS at Chelsea? Because I looked and I thought, £27.40 in London even then? How did you survive?
You've docked me 10 pence because I thought it was £27.50. That was my first wage, and it was just horrendous at the time. You would go down there, the expenses you made a wee bit on that, but not much. So, and then they paid your digs. It was horrendous at the time, and the money didn't help you because you weren't flush. So that showed you how hard I had to work, because it's not a lot of money at all. Getting up early in the morning, getting the last tube home, because the young boys at clubs now don't realise how lucky they are, because when you say when you were a YTS or in the youth set up at a club, that the jobs you would get where you just thought, right, okay, I'll go and do my training and do a bit of hoovering, that was it. We did everything at Stamford Bridge, so it was tough, but it was good because it stood you in good stead come a match day if you're playing for the youth team, and really got a bit of grit and determination about it. You know that I never had it before coming from New Cumnock.
Well, you would clean the boots, I would imagine. Everything. What else did you do?
We had 2 players where you looked after, so if there was double sessions, you'd have 2 sets of kit, clean the boots, get your dressing rooms done, sometimes even a bit of painting around the stadium. It was horrendous. But I quite liked it because it stood you in good stead.
Yeah, and if I was negotiating to try and get a wage increase, there are two people in London I certainly wouldn't want to sit down with in a room. One of them's Alan Sugar, and the other one is Ken Bates.
And it's funny because obviously you've obviously been doing your homework where he owned Partick Thistle as well. At that point there was a big stramash about that as well, because I don't think you could be looking after two clubs at once. So, but he got me up on loan. But Ken Bates was harsh but fair.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I signed a 2-year YTS, which I realised when I got down there after I was 16. At 17 I could turn pro, and I was probably one of the best players in the youth team, and I kicked up. You can imagine, when I'm scoring all the goals, I'm doing pretty well, and I see these boys who'd have jumped onto £300 a week, and I'm on £27.50 for the extra year. So you can imagine with my dogged determination, I turned pro at 17. I got in it. They get rid of my YTS and made me a pro after a year.
Yeah, you could have stayed longer at Chelsea though, couldn't you?
It was time to leave. Ian Porterfield was the manager, and it was weird because when I was in the reserve team and I was playing regularly, but the way it worked in those days with reserve teams, whoever never played for the first team did play. It was a good balance, and I still think it could be a good thing. I know
I've never met a player or a manager who's come into this one-to-one who has not said what you're saying.
Yeah.
They've just said, bring it back. People learn from playing with older players.
Absolutely. And you get a wee edge because you don't want to let them down. And if you show you're trying, they quite enjoy it as well. I found it helped me, but I was playing up front regularly with the likes of a boy called Kevin Wilson. I don't know if you remember him. Gordon Jury, if he wasn't playing. Kerry Dixon, an odd time. David Speedy.
Yeah.
And if they weren't getting games for the first team, we'd play with the reserves.
And that's who you're trying to break into this.
Yeah, and it was tough, and I knew it was time to leave. That was your question. But I mean, at the time I was playing and scoring as well. I was scoring a hat-trick in the reserves when they types of players were playing. And then Dundee come in because Porterfield knew Gordon Wallace. Gordon Wallace signed me for 50 grand, and I think Ken Bates, as you were speaking about, that wheeling deal, 50% any transfer fee. So that was the deal that was done. But I had to play first team, Peter. I was ready.
Yeah, you know, when I look at the people that you've worked under, fortunately for me, because of growing up in that era, you know, you've mentioned a name there. I thought he was a brilliant man. I loved Gordon Wallace. I thought he was a really nice man. But also, I always used to remind people around me who, you know, have the memory of a nano iPod. I would say Gordon Wallace was one of the top Premier League goal scorers of all time. I think he's second in the list. I think maybe third because Boyd and McCoyce gave him a run for his money. But also, he scored the winner for Dundee in the '73 League Cup final, and I got to work with him a couple of times, and he was a joy to sit down and chat with.
He is. He was like a father to me. He looked after me. But he was at Dundee United School of Coaching. I had them all, and I'm maybe forgetting them. Billy Kitwood coming through, Gordon Wallace, John Black never played for Dundee United, but he was there. Holty, John Holt. Trying to think of a few more, but Maurice Malpass.
Yeah.
Was that Dundee United? Walter Smith. Although I never worked with Walter, but the coaching was incredible with Gordon, and he taught me so much. He's not keeping very well now, but I still keep in touch with his daughter, and I go and see him every time I'm up at Dens because he's like a father to me.
Yeah. First time around though, the Dundee fans loved you.
They did? What do you mean, first time?
Well, we'll get to that second.
I know where you're leading with that.
We'll get to that second part where there's a small minority of what I call nowadays.
Fair.
Well, they're probably on Twitter every day of the week, but I tend to kind of look at the bigger picture. But in that,
right, we'll get there.
We'll get there. But in that first period, I looked at your stats and I thought to myself, 95 goals and 177 appearances is good going in anybody's book, Doddsy.
Yeah, I learnt my trade and I did really well. And in fact, talking about Gordon Wallace, right? My first game was at Dunfermline away when I was going to make my debut, and we get lost. My mum and dad and me, they drove me from Newcombe to Dunfermline, and we get lost. Went the wrong way, turned up half an hour late. I was meant to be starting. Bang, straight on the bench. Didn't speak to me for a month, and bombed me right out of the team. So that was Gordon for you. He wore his heart on his sleeve. So it was a hard start at Dundee.
Yeah,
and I was out squads, and I was disillusioned, and it was probably what I needed, but it wasn't intentional. Believe it or not, for a change, it was my mum and dad's fault, not mine.
Who did you lean on though when you're getting to that point where a lot of people think, oh, look at Dodds' career, look at his caps, look at the clubs he's played for, but you've had dark days where maybe there's times where you're not in the team, you're a young guy, you're only 20. Who did you lean on to say, listen, you know, that's just a wee setback, stick in?
Probably my parents at the time, but it was that Ayrshire attitude, that steely determination. I'll show him. And it was weird because he didn't speak to me. Although I'm saying he's like a father now, and he was harsh on me, but maybe I needed it at the time, because although it wasn't my fault, and I'm not trying to get away from being blameless altogether, but we just get lost in half an hour, and then I come on as a sub, and then I was bombed. So, but when I did get my chance, and I don't remember every goal, Peter, but when I did get my chance away at Love Street, and we get beat 3-2 that night, but I made my debut then, made my starting debut at Love Street, and I put us in front with an overhead kick, and it went right in the top bin. It was one of my best ever goals, and that was me off and running. But it wasn't just you joined Dundee, everything's rosy again, the team, and it wasn't plain sailing, put it that way. It was horrendous for a month and a half.
And you played with some good players in that team.
There was really good players. Gordon Chisholm, who he taught me so much from coaching. It's amazing how when you go on and then you pick up things, and people who you played with at Dundee and then took me as an assistant manager, so he gave me my coaching chance. But loads of good players at that time, and loved my time at Dundee. Had a ball, didn't want to leave, but at the time Jim Duffy had to change it a bit because we were practically relegated and just wanted to change it. So 4 great years there, can't ask for any more. Brilliant, scored lots of goals, and really got my career up and running.
And lots of people, when they listen to the Straight Talk, they'll listen to who you're going to pick in your five-a-side team, they'll listen to who you're going to pick, driving in a car. And the other thing that causes great consternation on this programme is the fact that you played with some really great players, you had good partners. And Keith Wright I loved Keith Wright when he was at Hibs as well. He was a really good partner for you.
One of the best. He was so hard working. One of the fittest boys you'll ever meet. You do pre-season, we always hear the stories people tell you, players that he was the fittest. This guy was a freak.
Yeah.
My wee legs are going like 100 to the dozen, and Big Ted is just Keith Wright, that was his nickname, just striding out and beating people by 15 yards in 100 metres. And it was hard to get fit, especially when the big man, I'm towing a caravan, and he's got the cigar out. But so hard working and underrated as a player as well. And
good telepathy with you.
Yeah, we hit it off. Great lad as well. You can't ask any more. So he was my first real strike partner, and we really had it off together.
Yeah. As I take you on this journey, I think most people give the right arm just to be able to say they were a professional footballer for 90 minutes, and you maybe had in touch with one manager. But I looked at your list and I thought to myself, wow, you Craig Brown, you've mentioned Ian Porterfield, Wallace, Blackley, Monroe, Stainrod, Duffy, Advocaat, Sturrock. And Sturrock was one guy that I think, if I was talking about a favourite Dundee United player, he was it, and he loved you.
Oh, another one, I still, when I see him, it's Fairer. That's what you call him. Same with Brun, when I saw him before he sadly passed. They treated me so well. But you had to do a job for them, but they were good human beings as well. They understood the outside sport life as well, so they were good with you. Sturrock was incredible. I left him out of that Dundee United School of Coaching because there's a few stories about him as well. He was savage with you, but fair, and I've never seen him really show emotion. But when I left Dundee United, he knew, and it was weird because I looked at him and I gave him a cuddle and I shook his hand and I thanked him. And he was, anybody that knows Paul Sturrock, he's not like that. He's savage, he would cut you in two.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story about that later. But he was brilliant for me. And another one of that Dundee United's coaching school who got the best out of me.
Yeah. Why was it such a Why was it such a short stay at St Johnstone?
Because Aberdeen, because Peter, I was known for a while as the jinx. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I know you've relegated a few teams and almost got Aberdeen relegated.
Yeah, but that was in the space of a year, less than a year. You never mentioned less than a year. It's all right relegating 3 teams in your full career, but when you do it, or you're close to doing it in less than a year, that's why I was called the jinx. That's why you asked the question, why such a short stay at St Johnstone? We get relegated. Jim Duffy decided to move it and try and change it about to try and last gasp to keep Dundee up. I think it was Geordie Shaw and Jerry Britton that come in, and I went to St Johnstone. They get relegated. St Johnstone, the last day of the season, we won 1-0. We never only get relegated by points or a point, we get relegated by a goal. Right? Oh. So that was horrendous. So we won the game as well, and we still got relegated. So that was 2 down. And it's funny now, but the fans won't be thinking that. But no. I did pretty well there, so I scored a few goals for St Johnstone, scored obviously a few for Dundee. But then I goes to Aberdeen, and Willie signed us, and boy does he no let me forget. I got Aberdeen into relegation trouble 6 months later. So that's why I'm called the jinx, because I nearly took 3 teams down in 1 year.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it is...
yeah.
In those, well, you mentioned it's a nightmare for you, but the stats don't lie. But the problem is, though, at those times, I mean, I was early into journalism, and I can remember, the reason why I remember, your stint at Aberdeen is because you know what the press is like when we get a freebie, and everybody who attended the Scottish League Cup final, I think the run-in they gave you got a bike if you won man of the match, a Coca-Cola bike, and then everybody in the press who attended the Scottish League Cup final, Aberdeen, Dundee, they got a set of 6 glasses with the logos of each team on it and commemorating. I've still got...
Wee Stevie Glass got a bike.
He got a bike, and I've still got the glasses. And every time I look at the glasses, I think, that's Dodgy. Dodgy scored the winner in that final. I think Duncan Shearer might have got the first one.
I got the first, he got the second, but I had a right good League Cup run. It was funny because I was doing well in my career.
That's what I was going to say to you.
And my teams were failing, and I'm not trying to blame them. It was all their fault. I wasn't trying to blame them. I was trying my absolute backside off to try and things were going well, scoring goals for Dundee, St Johnstone, and then Aberdeen. I didn't start well at Aberdeen. I missed a few chances, but I was one of those that never hid, and I just kept going at it, and I turned it, and then scored some important goals. So it worked out really well at Aberdeen. That's one of the best clubs you could go to. It's a proper club. I said that to Derek McInnes and Tony Dockett when they went there. I mean, you're going to a proper club, and they came back to me maybe a year and a half later, and they said, you weren't wrong. They were like, that's properly run.
Was Roy Aitken your manager when you won the League Cup?
Yes. Because Willie had got this. I was gutted when Willie left. I understood what Willie was trying to do when I went to Aberdeen, because there was the old guard, and I've spoken to him about it, where it had to change. It was the song had to change. Maybe he could have done it in less numbers, because I think there was 4 or 5 went. Maybe a couple could have went. And I think given his chance, he might do it differently, but it'd be the same thing, and I could understand why he was thinking that at the time, just to, get a bit of freshness and younger legs in the team.
Everybody talks about it, and one of the reasons why I think, as you say, the teams might have not been doing well, but fans always respond to someone who is always grafting, who's always putting the effort in, which is something which I always associated with you. In those teams, everybody's obsessed nowadays with formations. I presume that Billy Dodds was at his best when he had wingers. Yeah,
100%. The wingers made me, and you'll see that right throughout my career with the service that I got, because I was never a flying machine. I was sharp, and if I got the ball wide and got in the box, I always seemed to be one of those people who would drop to or get on the end of it and make my wee runs. And all my coaches had something to do with it, but people like Gordon Wallace and Paul Sturrock were the ones that had the finishing touch, where run there, always get across your man, wait till he glances when the ball's going to come in and move. And the balls seemed to... at Chelsea I always had a knack for goals. Gwyn Williams was my youth team manager, he was brilliant for me as well. But just that finishing touch in the professional setup was a lot to do with Wallace and Sturrock.
Yeah. Did you always like a 4-4-2 with a striker partner?
Did at that time. I could play in, and I didn't enjoy it in my own as a one, because when you use a lot of teams then that played 4-4-2, and when you went to one, you knew it was against a good team, and I'd be that one up front, no getting much service.
I was just about to say, Billy Dodds, doggies left and right, and then hold the ball up and try and get somebody near you.
And try and nick as a goal.
Yeah.
I did prefer a partner, and I played with plenty, and they were all good for me in their own way, and I hit off most of them. But I can't actually think of a partnership that didn't really work, Peter, to be honest.
Who were you up? Were you Duncan Shearer at Aberdeen?
Duncan Shearer, yeah. It was wee Jess at times, it was Boothie at times, and Willie always picked me before them, because I was getting in the chances, I was missing them, but I was giving my tank for him, and he knew it. Where it was either Boothie maybe get left out, or wee Jess on the odd occasion, or Duncan was on the bench, but Willie always stood by me, and I was grateful for that. When it was taking a wee while to just settle into the club at that time. Yeah,
Jess was a special player. I thought
he'd not moving back.
Should have achieved more, eh?
Yeah, I always say that to Jesse. One of the most technical, talented players. I don't have to go through it all with you, but there was times when I bet you, when he looks back, he probably thought, I could have done a wee bit more. But special player. Yeah. I mean, some of the goals he scored. Do you remember the goal at Ibrox?
Yeah.
There's a couple where he just hit them for range. Brilliant technically, brilliant football brain to see round the corner and you're leaving it for him and making your next run and he'll spot you. He lost his way with a wee bit like Aberdeen were struggling at the time.
Yeah.
And he kind of just faltered with them for a wee while, but then listen, he had a brilliant career, but I'm not here to have a go at Ian.
No, absolutely.
He is one of my favourite players to play with.
Yeah.
Different class.
I'd love to have seen the stats though, and now they're obsessed with stats now. I'd love to have seen the stats on Billy Dodds. Right foot shot, left foot shot, heads, inside the box, outside the box. You get a few glancing headers, as you said, but
wasn't it bad in there from a height?
Yep.
Because I wasn't the tallest, 5'7".
Too many outside the box? Not too many?
Not too many. A couple of good ones, but the one that sticks outside the box was Scotland v Bosnia. That's one of my best goals ever.
Yeah.
And it's everything I didn't do. I'm like, I was wanting to pass the ball. I picked it up and beat, I think it was a big boy that played for Coventry at the time, Konjic, I think he was called.
Yeah.
And I beat him just after the halfway line, and I'm running with it, and I'm thinking, oh no, I've got to get rid. I've got to get it wide to those wingers you're talking about. And then I drove, and they backed off, and it was a bumpy pitch as well. And Neil McCann was wide, and he's screaming it. He's just give me it. Backed off, and I'm like, oh no, shut the eyes, hit a left foot shot, which you ever got a chance to see it.
Yeah.
And it was Channel 5 at the time, and no many people remember it, but a few have said to me, you scored one of the best Scotland goals you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And I've hit a left footer for like 19 yards that's gone right in the top corner, and I'm away running as if I meant it. And it just sat up nice off the bumpy pitch.
Yeah, but listen, any goal like that, as McCoy used to say, 1 yard tap in or 20 yarder.
Feeling.
Celebrate it. And you scored more than a few of them. What were you like off the park?
Moany. Most people tell you that. But they always remember the moans. But it's because I was so much desire to do well and win. And probably I did overstate the mark at times, but I gave so much credit as well.
Yeah.
They never remember that, a lot of the boys. They always say, there's wee Mona there. I'm like, that's because you didn't want to learn and listen.
Yeah.
But you do change, you do mellow when you get older. And I would like to think, in my managerial side of things and my coaching side of things, I was a people person. I helped loads of people, and I still get so many phone calls for boys that have played under me, and that tells me something.
Yeah. You go to, I don't know the mentality of if it's as, I don't know, poisonous, vitriolic towards you, but you joined Dundee United. Now, the one thing, I'm not dissing Robbie Winters, because I know Robbie. He's good lad, good player, speed, and I know why Aberdeen would want to sign him. But I didn't get, even when I was working in the industry, I didn't get that swap deal.
at that time, my Aberdeen career wasn't happening under Alec Miller for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then the move came up, and I decided to do it because it did take a few months. We Sturrock was on the phone to me, and they were wanting it to happen. It never happened for one reason or another, and I had to make that move. I had to, for the sake of my career, because it had gone stale at Aberdeen. I didn't want to leave. I was stuck in. Actually, when I moved, I still lived in Aberdeen, get the train down every day.
Is that
I had
right?
a great wee setup. I had a brilliant setup. I was so happy, and I was playing good football. But Robbie's a great boy, as you know.
Yeah.
And he had the double trouble with me, though, because I used to pal about with the physio John Sharp at the time, and he would have the odd house party or two, and Robbie was always invited, and every time again, and we had a few drinks, all Robbie used to say, and he's great boys, you know, he's like, "You're killing me." So, and I'm like, I'm not meaning it, Robbie, you know. I was loving my football when my career really took off, because Dundee United obviously did that well, that Rangers come in, and then Scotland, and just all started going, and Robbie had a wee bit like me at the time, did quite well, missed a few chances, trying hard, just wasn't happening for him at Aberdeen. But I wasn't one to rub his nose in it, so I just laughed when he kept saying that to me, because we were out regularly with John Sharp, the physio, and Robbie and myself, and he just like, "Oh, here he's coming." The head went in the hands.
Tell me about Luggy. Tell me about the stories you were going to say about United.
He was savage, as I said, but straight talking, brilliant coach. The best one, because he loved me, he just let me do what I wanted. And one of the ones was, he knew I was doing well. We'd won a game, and I had this wee routine. I would just pop my head in his office when I was leaving and go, especially if one, "Gaffer, see you later, see you Monday," right, no bother. But there was this one time where, this is how savage he was, and I popped my head, we'd won the game, can't remember what game it was, everybody's happy, I'll get my, pop my head in, and I was like, "Gaffer, I'll see you Monday," and he's like, "Here," and he just looked at me, and he was like, and I'd played really well. In fact, it was Celtic 2-1 maybe.
Yeah.
Celtic 2-1, and he went, "Aye, no bad. And I went, "Right, see you Monday," right. So I went to go down that Tannadice corridor, as you'll know,
I know it.
the gaffer's office, to go down the stairs. And he went, "Come here." And I popped my head back when he went like that. I said, "No bad, but you're still the skitter of my little toe." I'm like, "Right, okay then.
Thank you.
See you later."
I've just scored. You beat Celtic.
That's him for you.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, not as bad as the United players that I talk about when they talk about Jim McLean, but you can see maybe why he was savage, because he had that constant, you know, no matter how good he was, and I thought he was awesome, you'd still get pelters from Jim McLean, so maybe that was the thing that brushed off on him.
I think he was, when Jim McLean was a manager, and brilliant manager and coach he was as well, and he was there as a chairman with me, and I got on really well with him, but I had to stand at my ground against Jim as well at one point, and then he loved me. But I think Sturrock was a mediator, so he knew how to handle players to not let Jim get to them at times.
Yeah. What were you like as a professional off the field? Did you like going out with the boys?
I hardly touched a drink for a long time.
Why?
So the water's in line, because it was just like young, desperate to do well, and then it was, I'm not going to kid anybody on, it was a drinking culture, and it was like Dundee with Denny, Pittman, Gary Patterson. The teams, we never had a great team, Teams were actually scared of us at times.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they boys were mental.
Yeah.
And I've told you the Sturrock story, I'll tell you a couple more, but things I wouldn't even dream of telling you that happened in that dressing room. I've seen boys who are crazy, I've seen dressing rooms who are thriving and the boys are getting on well with one another. I've never seen anything like that. That was the dressing room. I was going to say for hell, but it wasn't for hell, because they were all good boys, but they were seriously crazy.
Yes. How did you hold your nerve? How did you...
Taught me a lot, Alan, didn't you?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sure he'd laugh when he heard his name mentioned on it, because there's a few boys of that ilk from down that Mary Hill area.
He's possible, so.
Yeah.
Hard upbringing, heart of gold. He's a great boy, and he's taught me a lot in life, like values especially, but crazy. It wasn't just Alan Dinny. I mean, as I say, there was times when we played, remember Hearts, and it kicked off. And
were you a scrapper? Were you up for it, or was it you just left it to the enforcers?
I had a couple, but and then I was hoping for backup. I had my moments, but no, they boys could handle themselves.
Yeah. Now, if there was one element that I don't know, and I'm hoping you're going to just lace this with a silver lining, please tell me your dad was still alive when you signed for Rangers.
He was.
How great must that be? Yeah,
it was. He saw my career and he saw me having to dig in club to club, and you know, the right few clubs. Better naming the ones I didn't play for. But he was so proud, and that was a big moment for me. Of course, it was when he was a Rangers fan. I was brought up a Rangers fan, and when I signed for them, my dad, you could just see he supported. Don't get me wrong. When we played Rangers and I was playing for Aberdeen, he was Dundee United. He was wanting me to beat them. The rest of them, it wasn't one of those. Well, it's Rangers you're playing today, so I hope you get beat. He was like, no, I hope you win the day, son. He was loyal. He was loyal, but when it came to when I signed for Rangers, proud.
Yeah. Did you take him for the signing?
No, for the signing, but he was at plenty of freebie games. A bit of hospitality.
Absolutely. Starter, main course and suite. Brilliant. Because they had injuries, you're suddenly working for Dick Advocaat, who was just priceless in a press.
Well, I said Paul Sturrock was savage. I could tell you a few about me Dick. I like Dick's just thoroughness, honesty. He would call it. He wouldn't care if he hurt you. No, he wouldn't realise sometimes he would hurt you.
Yeah.
But he was a spade was a spade with Dick, and I loved that about him. But a hard man.
Yeah. But when I can remember, I think I was at STV at the time. I can remember his interview was basically, he's my type of player. He grafts. Okay, we've got injuries, but for club and country, he's the type of player that we want here.
There's sometimes, Peter, where you can look back at the club you joined and you thought, maybe I could have done more. I couldn't have done more at Rangers. Myself and Andrew Conchelskis, when we were out the team, extra. Andrew was incredible. You come with me, come on. Really hit it off with him. Brilliant for me because he's a winger, played great together, scored a lot of goals through Andrew.
Yep.
But Dick was just cut you sometimes, but he didn't realise what he was doing. But as I say, he liked to call it. And I mean, there was one I said about you look it back and you can maybe do a bit better. You thought at times I couldn't have done any more at Rangers because when I went there for Dundee United playing the best football in my career, I kept it going at Rangers. We won the league and we won the cup, so that was a double.
Yep.
Starting next season, it was Dick had his mindset in his first 11, and I'll tell you the story why. We used to train up steps. I don't know if you remember when Rangers, before the training ground was built, and Dick was always he was always wanting to push away in the team, but he had his thoughts in a starting 11, which is fine for any manager. You always do.
Yeah.
But there was no realisation that was coming for me because I'd done so well, and I thought I've just carried that on. I'm a starter. Comes the pre-seasons, I don't start. But I don't think anything of it. I think we're playing 4 pre-season games. I'll get 2. The other boys will get 2 and we'll share it. No, half an hour here, 10 minutes here. I'm like, wow. Comes the start of the season, we play Kaunas at Ibrox, and we're only winning 2-1, and there's only 15 minutes to go. Dafty comes on, scores 2, we win 4-1. Then we play St Johnstone, first game of the season. We're 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go. I score 2, we win 2-1. We go to Kilmarnock, we're 2-0 down. Andy McLaren, I can't remember who else scored. 2-0 down. I scored 2 each. Kenny Miller comes on, we win 4-2, we turn it around. I've got 6 goals in 3 games. In fact, I can't remember their goals, but I think I got another couple. It was like 8 goals in 7 games. Comes to Sturm Graz, and I'm out. And we're up steps, training ground. And I'm raging. I've got, my head's gone, you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I don't know what I've got to do here.
Did you have the balls to go up and say to him?
He was called the Little General for a reason. No, but he saw me, and I never did anything. I was just fuming. And he came over to me and he's like, "Hey, Billy boy." And Neil McKenna used to do his accent. It'll be the worst ever, but I'll give it a go anyway. But he came over and he's like, "Hey, Billy boy, I know you're upset." He says, "But you're the only one of my second 11 that show me you want to get in my first 11. I'm like that.
That's a John Gagan line, isn't it? Why am I in the second team? Because you're too good for the third team.
Gigs. I did think about it when I went to watch gigs a couple of times. That was me. Wee Dick was like, that was his way. He's saying, "You're showing me that you're doing well.
Yeah.
It's no good enough." But the 6 months I've had before that, when I joined Rangers, I couldn't have done any better.
Yeah.
I was playing, as I say, I had combined everything, the hard work, and I don't like.
And the fans liked you.
People, yeah, they were singing my name because Mikey Moles was injured and they were singing the same song with me. But it's not even about that. I was never a selfish person. It was just everything was going well. It couldn't have gone better.
Yeah.
And I was flying, and it just cut the legs from me right away, and then helped cut them a wee bit more when he up the steps training ground. When he told me that day, I was like, "Oh my word, Gaffer, you kidding me on? The second 11, is that what you think of us?" And a few of the boys thought that, and we struggled that next season, Not because we weren't in the team, just because it affected the dressing room a wee bit.
Yeah, and was there a greater challenge coming from Celtic then?
Well, we went. I scored my Old Firm debut.
Yeah.
But we went for that was in such an important game just before the winter break because it kept us 7 points in front.
Yep.
And we ended up winning it by 20
points. Yeah, you were well ahead.
And then the next season, with everything that was happening, and he signed a few more players, good players, but a few Dutch players, which is fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it, but if they're good enough, they're good enough. But they never really set it alight.
Yeah.
And there was a wee bit of, there wasn't a bad feeling in the dressing room, it just wasn't right. You just know the balance wasn't right in the dressing room. And we ended up losing for 21 points the season before. We ended up losing the league by, I can't remember, maybe 15, 20 points the next season.
Yeah.
So there was a huge swing.
What was it like with your first Old Firm game? I mean, your dad would have been in there, he'd have had a ticket surely.
Yeah, he did.
What was it like? I mean, you must have been buzzing. Could you stop, as a professional footballer allowed, especially if you're a Rangers fan, if you're in that tunnel, are you nervous? Can you remember it?
You'll always have nerves, of course. You would never try and play that down. But I was ready because I was 31 and I had experienced a lot in football. I was now playing for the national team as well. And I made sure, don't let this game bypass you. You've heard players feel for, if you just let the occasion get you, get there and it's over before you know it.
Yeah.
Deep breath, no nerves, playing well. Went out, couldn't hear the 7,000 Rangers fans. You know that corner they're in.
Yep.
No so much nowadays, but that was the corner they were in. Walked out and you couldn't even hear them. It was that loud. But it was even.
Some people say they couldn't hear your teammates.
At times, yeah. At times, did you shout? You just can't. Peter, you'd have to play in it to experience it. But lucky I scored. I was ready, and do you know what? I actually really enjoyed the game with not a lot of nerves, just adrenaline, and they pumped up before the game, but no during it.
Yeah. What's the best bit of advice you could give anyone who's going into a game like that?
Breathe. Take your time. Think about how you're going to play it out, but don't let it pass you by. Don't get caught up in all the emotions and the crowd, and you'll hear them, but try and block it as much as you can because it will help your game.
Yeah, and sweet if you win it.
Yeah, we drew it, but that was sweet enough because kept us 7 points in front. And that game was so pivotal because I felt as if we're going to win the league now. That would have been interesting if they cut the gap on us. Yeah.
Maybe the other thing about it, when you look at these games, and then Rangers obviously are going to play in Europe. Europe is the bit where you can do it at international level because you get your 26 caps. But at that time, I felt as if the Champions League and European football, the standard was getting better and better.
It's where you wanted to be. Everything you had worked hard for a young boy down my mum and dad's house still is just above the playing parks in Newcombe. They used to shout on you for your dinner, and then you were back down. Don't get your school clothes dirty. You come up and you were absolutely caked with muck, and you get a cuff in the ear for your old dear. That's everything you'd worked for there to go to Champions League was brilliant, and that was the thing when wee Dick said that to me about the
second 11,
the second 11 to the first 11. I comes on against Sturm Graz, and one of my best goals for Rangers, chip to goalie.
That was a brilliant chip.
And he left me out again. I was like, you can imagine how demoralised you are, and Andre kept me going at that time.
Yeah. If there was the high of signing for them, was it really painful leaving?
No, I was ready to leave. I was ready to leave because I was so far out the picture. Alec McLeish, who put me back in squads, to be fair to him, when he first came in. But I was getting older. Looking back now, the legs were starting to not go, but I needed to play regular to keep that tip-top form. So back to United. And it was good there. I had problems with my Achilles at that time. It kept niggling as well, so it never went as well. But scored some important goals. 2-0 down in the derby and scored a couple, had some great moments, and then went on to be Gordon Chisholm's number 2, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your managerial experiences and coaching experiences. Do you remember any great wind-ups from that playing career? Because you've played with a few characters.
No, there's a few. As I said to you, I can't tell you everything that went on, because you can imagine. There's the one, it was actually when there's big clubs, but you actually got some of your best banter at the lower clubs as well, like Queen of the South, and there was some tearaways in that dressing room as well. So, and even when I went to Ross County in the coaching career, I'll tell you the story, that Ross County, one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me, and it was like a bring back down to earth, because such a high. We play Hibs in the Scottish League Cup final. We win it. We beat them 3-2. Hibs went on to win the Cup against Rangers that year. Yep. Right good team. They had some players playing. We were probably the underdogs, but we won it. We were in a great place. The league had set up a midweek game though, so we couldn't celebrate a victory. We played, I think it was Cali, midweek. I can't remember who it was, but we had a midweek fixture and we were going crazy about it. How can they do this? We're in a National Cup final. We've got a league game midweek. Who would do that? Yeah. But the players couldn't. But I went back to the Marriott where I had everybody tickets, and we walked in, and I walked in. I was my 3-piece suit on. It was beautiful. It was like, I think it was a Boss. I'm not sure, but it was a lovely blue trousers, nice waistcoat, nice jacket, tie with wee white stick, looked really top notch, and goes in, and my family are sitting in the Marriott Hotel just under the Kingston Bridge, and there's probably 22 hours, and I got them my tickets, and I'm like buzzing straight up to the what you want to drink, ruin everybody, I'll get it in. They'd all been sitting there, they had a few before that and they were well on. So I goes to the bar, and I don't know if you know the Marriott at that time, the bar up there, up the wee steps. The boy says to me, "Oh, brilliant result, Billy, tremendous." The barman, blaring away to him, it comes on the telly, I'm kind of looking at the highlight, it was the Sky, it was on, wee bits of clips, and I'd take my jacket off because I was warm getting in the hotel, and I'm like watching it, and I'm watching the highlights, and the boys tell me about how that goal was, I was going through all the goals, and I swear to God, Peter, there was a big barrel sitting away for the bar at that time in the Marriott, and there was 2 women at it, and they said, "Excuse me, sir, can you bring me the menu?" They thought I was a waiter. Jane up. So I just wet myself. I get down and tell the full fam, "You have no idea what just happened to me there." I'm right in there talking to the barman, loving it, getting all the drinks up, thinking I had a quick one myself.
As you do, yeah.
As you do. Yeah. Just want to have a right few, because the boys can't get on it, because they're obviously playing on Wednesday. And the 2 women have just killed me.
Billy the waiter.
I'm a waiter, so you can imagine my family, they were pissing themselves.
You mentioned Chiz there, you got into coaching. Was it something that you always knew you were going to do?
Yeah, it's something that I always wanted to do, but I wanted to do it in the right manner. When you first come into coaching Big Chiz, tell you how it happened. I didn't expect to work with Chiz. I played with him at Dundee. I wasn't his best pal, but I got on really well with him. We've made a good relationship now, speak to him loads. Yeah. But
I thought his football was good.
Yeah.
A good team to watch.
He earned the job. He earned a job at Dundee. He came in when Ian McCall left and kept United up. So they had to give Chiz a job. Brilliant coach. On the training ground, unbelievable. Taught me. You take a bit for every day, but Gordon Chisholm and Gordon Wallace and Paul Sturrock were my main ones to go and take stuff from. But he was just brilliant when it came to the training ground. He's a good lad. But how it came about, we played Hibs in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. Celtic beat us in the final 1-0, you'll probably remember it. And I wasn't on today, but it was him and Tony Docherty who were looking after it. I was on the bench. So I'm away sitting along at the end at Hampden, and Hibs were giving us a doing. They were up 1-0, and it could have been 4 or 5. And Chiz shouted, "Come here," and I think I'm going on. Sit down, why to pick your brain? I might go on the pitch. But he just said to me, "What would you do?" And I said, we're not hurting them enough. If we had loads of chances, we're doing 1-0, half an hour to go, we'll just having a go get. I think it was Colin Samuel up with Jim McIntyre. No, it was Jason Scotland up with Jim McIntyre. And put Colin Samuel away and go 4-4-2, have a go. Do we not score 2? I just goes back. I'm not taking credit for this. No. It was something he must have been thinking about. But I walked along to the edge of the seats, sat back down. 10 minutes later, we scored 2. We're up 2-1. It was the biggest robbery ever. Yeah. And then I just runs back along. I'm like, change back 4-5-1, kill the game. Just go boring. And Big Chiz always, he just. That summer, my contract was up. I left the club and I'm driving. I was going to a wedding, I think, and the phone went. Big Chiz, who wanted me to become his assistant manager. That was it.
It's a sliding doors moment, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Just before we talk about you as the Billy Dodds, the manager, international football. If we're talking about the days when you signed for Rangers and your dad's proud, 26 caps. It's just brilliant. Can you remember the first one?
My first full start. You kid me on. How can you ever forget? I'd been in. I'd made my debut in Latvia. Yep. Got my cap because I come on as a sub, and then we go to Estonia. Yeah. And
it's just a farce.
It was a farce. If somebody had said this is going to play out, you're I mean, sling your out. Yeah. But honestly, Peter,
it was
mental. Everything about it. But I'm starting, and I've had the word, so they're all having a wee laugh about it. I'm gutted. Yeah. Sitting in the dressing room, and I remember Alec Miller, funny enough, who got rid of me at Aberdeen, and Craig Brown saying, and we knew it wasn't happening, but they're saying, just get yourself ready. They could jump off the bus at any time, run straight on the pitch. And even I'm going, even though I'm desperate. Come on, Brownie. You come out with a few in your time, but it's not. I loved Craig. He was brilliant for me.
The good news is you get a 6 in the Sunday Mail Star check that day for that game.
My best man for a while.
Brownie was a great character, and again, international. Good for you.
I can't. He knew what he was getting with me, and when I come on, funny enough, Estonia was. When I started, I come on as a sub in Estonia at Tynecastle because Hampden was getting a refurb. Come on against Estonia and we were 1-0 down and scored 2 and set up the third and we ended up winning 3-2. And since then, Brownie treated me like a boy. Yeah, he really did.
In a strange sort of way, although nobody probably looks at it, he liked people who were grafters and could fit into his system. You know, when I think of the type of players that he stuck by. You know, it's a Kevin Gallagher chasing an empty bag on a windy day, a Darren Jackson, yourself. Boydie had some amount of energy. All those type of players that would absolutely give everything in a team sense.
Honesty and reliability, I think, with Craig, and he valued that. Yeah. And he knew what he was getting from me, and he just let me be what I was after that. And I became, after McCoy retired, it was my turn to be kind of the main man. And he was, those 26 caps, even when my kid was born, my first kid, Eva was born, and I left the Croatian camp and Kevin scored, but I was starting. Yeah. And then he phoned me the next morning, the day before the game, because I'd gone a couple of days early, and he's like, can you come back over just to even go on the bench? He just wanted me there. treated me well, treated me properly, and I gave him everything I had, and he was brilliant for my career because he just made you believe it. You've heard all the stories about Craig. He just made you feel 10 foot tall.
Absolutely, he was a great man. What was your favourite Scotland moment? Is it the Bosnia-Herzegovina?
That was my best goal. My favourite Scotland moment was probably my first goal and turning it round against Estonia. What an achievement. Another great moment would have been my 2 goals against Belgium until Big Van Boynton
come up and
nodded in,
spoiled it for us.
But no, Estonia was probably a proud moment. That.
Yeah, England sticks in my throat as well.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, we've heard of the underdogs before. That's probably the hard luck stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would have probably been the biggest. We were so. I know everybody will say I was so close. That was incredible because even at Hampden, I thought we played really well.
Yeah.
Scores just goes bang bang 2-0. I hit the bar straight down onto the line behind Seaman.
I thought we played some good stuff at Wembley.
We did, but that's what I'm saying. I thought we were fine at Hampden.
Yeah.
We just get the sucker punch. We couldn't get back in it. But at Wembley, we just talked about it. Craig Brown, making you believe. First goal. That's what he kept going on about. We are scoring the first goal. We score this first goal, they'll capitulate. And they did. And we get it. You know the way it played out. We were so unlucky. Christian Daly's header. I thought it was through 1-1. Big Adams comes and sweeps me. And it's funny because you'll remember better than anybody when Kevin Keegan opened his soccer escape at Braehead.
Yeah.
I went over and he said, you had us. And he told me, I never had to say to him, he just went, I'll never forget how low we were and how we went to a final where we were lucky. Yeah.
We've discussed over this, excuse me, the course of this programme, some great highs, some great goals. The downside, and we touched on it at the start of the programme, must have been Dundee with you and Chiz, because in any administration, in any situation where you have CVAs, there's always, fans never know the full story, and I think you guys get the short end of the stick.
Listen, I've explained it so many times, and it wasn't the way I planned to go about it, but I've got morals. And I thought, do you know what? The 2 guys it was at the time, Bob Brannan and Callum Melville, I'll name them, I've no bother.
Yeah.
They were trying to leave the club to one another, they were trying to get out. They were the guys that put it in the trouble it was in.
Yeah.
Things Chiz and I had to handle as a staff, whether it was players worrying about getting paid, whether it was, is the club going to keep on going. We were lucky because we knew John Bennett, who owned the ground at the time, and we knew it was going to be safe. But if you're asking me, I'm being right up front here, and I don't have to say this, if you're asking me if I would do the same again, I would.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it all, people are saying you're trying to kill the club. No. Bob Brannan and Callum Melville try to kill your club. We're just standing up for our rights.
Yes.
And we could have taken the easy way out and just said, yeah, we'll go along with the CVA. We had a wee bit of inside info with John Bennett at the time, and we knew it wasn't going to be like that. But my family, my dad, God rest him, where I said to him, you stand up for what you believe, son, and I knew what I believed.
Yeah, and the collateral damage is always the lower end of the
because it was a bit of a hero as well, though, the Dundee fans. And I always respected them, Peter, because, see, you watch every goal I scored for Dundee United against them, I never even looked at the Dundee fans because I knew they'd be hurting.
Yeah.
I respected them so much, and I'm not trying to buy or get back, a wee pat in the back. I know they'll no change, but a lot of Dundee fans have actually been like that to me, believe it or not, when I got there. Great to see you, Billy. Listen, don't worry about what happened. We know what happened, and they understand.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice. It wasn't a nice thing to handle when you're a football coach, player, manager, to have to handle the business side. I didn't like doing it, but I was like, this is not right.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to make tough decisions in life. How did you handle becoming a manager? Inverness.
I was ready.
Were you ready?
Ready, aye.
Yeah.
It was funny when Derek McKinnon scored the winner for me when Gordon got the sack from Dundee United. I took one game, wasn't sure how it was going to play out. Some of the board wanted me to stay on. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't. I was loyal with the big man, Big Chiz, but we played Falkirk and I brought in Derek McInnes and he scored the winner for me as well. So I had a wee taste of it, but I knew with being an assistant and then being that, I was a decision maker. I was fair. I was honest. I could be hard at times, not as bad as wee Dick at times, but it was. You learn, as I say, off every manager, but I was ready, Peter.
Yeah, and of course, listen, not many people can say they take a provincial club and a club from the Highlands to a Scottish Cup final. I know it's painful, you maybe lose out, because I know you wanted to win it desperately for them.
I believed that we could win it.
But you get there. Getting there as well is an achievement.
Yeah, but it can happen. People say that it's a one-off. You know, we were lucky against Queen's Park. There's always things that get thrown up. I don't care what anybody says. We proved time and time again. We beat Kilmarnock, who were a Premiership club. We beat Livingston twice, who was a Premiership club.
Yeah.
We gave Premiership clubs hard runs for their money all the time. That's why I believed. It wasn't just the cup though. It was the playoffs the year before, 45 minutes for the Premier League, and really doing well against St Johnstone until they scored just after half-time, then they got a deflection, it floored us, then we had to have a go. It was never a 4-0 game. But the biggest regret, man, Inverness, it's not even a regret. The biggest, for me getting into the playoffs last season would have been my biggest achievement.
Yeah.
And that sounds daft after being to a cup final and also getting to a promotion playoff to the final and getting within 45 minutes of Premier League, because when I say never had a team, we were, and I know every manager says it, but I've never seen anything like that, where we were ravaged. I'd lost my full practically 11.
Yeah.
And we were in such a downer because we couldn't win a game with 16-year-old boys playing, couldn't put a team at times. And then I knew when I got them all back, we'd go on a run. And we went on a 7 or 8 game unbeaten run, and we're sitting in third going into the United game. If the boys had got us to the playoffs again, that would have been my biggest achievement there, outweighing the Scottish Cup and the playoff final. I'm telling you, it was that bad an injury crisis.
Yeah.
To get there would have been a minor miracle.
Have you finished with management?
No, well, it's not my decision. Here, no, but you know better than anybody, and you've had some big names and people come in this building and sitting here talking to you who are good managers who have struggled to get back in. Here's telling me I'm desperate to get back in, but in Scotland it's not the managerial merry-go-round it is in England.
Yeah, and with that in mind, do you feel as if they'd be getting an even better manager now because of the experiences?
Without a shadow, business-wise, things I had to handle at Inverness, just gathering information and being a manager and making your decisions. But I think I got the best out of the players for the 2 years there. It was, for me, a brilliant 2 years, and no many people can say they go to a championship club and get close, and then Scottish Cup final, and it went pretty well. It was a hard start to the season. I ended up losing my job like every manager will at some point.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a good CV, and I'm sure, as you know, in football, these things change. People look at the CV, people look at what you achieved, and maybe getting a good man in there. Let me take you out of this situation, and just before we finish, I'm going to ask you a few questions. You mentioned there, I think the whole thing about all the way through your career, from the start to the finish of our discussions, the family part of it has rung true. Your dad shared in so much. I read somewhere that you reckon that the loss of your sister had such an effect on you that maybe that made you the person you were as well, and the successes you've had. Yeah,
defines your life really. Made a man of me. Not that I was a bad person anyway, but 26-year-olds at Aberdeen, you're like, it's back to that sliding doors moment where it was hard hitting, became a man, had to handle things that you shouldn't have to handle at 26, but I did. And my sister was an honest, really good person, plain, just hard-working girl, and that kind of defines what you are as a person as well. So, and then I lost my old man. But everybody's got a story to tell. It's life. We're all getting older.
Yeah.
But those two things that happened in your life just made you even more determined.
Yeah, well, I think when they look back, and I think wherever your family are looking on you, I think they'll look back with great pride. I'm going to put you on the spot now where you might get a wee bit of pelters, but you've got
Again,
I bought you.
Pelters in my career.
I bought you a car. You're driving across America. You're the driver. You've got 3 people to have in it, famous or non-famous. Who's in the car with you?
Famous is Elvis Presley. I mean, my son, who's 21, just back from Nashville because he's grandpa, and he loves Elvis, so it's passed through the generations. I love Elvis. He would be one in the car. The other one, I love my golf. People would think you'd put in a football or not. I love my golf. Severiano Ballesteros. I followed him at Turnberry when Nick Price won the Open. He just attacked everything. And I stood beside him in the ropes a couple of times and just heard what he's like taking on the pin all the time, and I love that. Taking too early as well. What a golfer. Just unbelievable when you see some of his programmes going back as well. So Elvis and Ballesteros wouldn't be a bad tour.
Yep.
And then obviously, if I'm going to have a party in there, it would be my old man and my sister who loved Elvis as well. So why no? I'm getting a game of golf.
I give you a people carrier.
And it's all fully booze. It's Elvis. It's a party. It's a wee game of golf on the way with your family.
Couldn't think of a better one. What songs are you picking? Because you're only allowed to pick 3 songs that you would play that you'd never get tired of playing in that car.
Oh, it's. I got asked this question a few weeks back, and one of my all-time favourites, because it was always when you've struggled and you've no won a game, it's Orange Juice, good Scottish group, Rip It Up, because you would just start again. And I loved the song, it was quite catchy. So that'd be one I'd be playing. When I used to have my days out or my nights out in Prestwick area, it was always Valerie that got me going. When that come on, because it took me a lot. I wasn't a booger, believe it or not. I wasn't. So I would play that, get it going, and then it would be Suspicious Minds. It was my Alan Denny karaoke song, and what a tune it is. So it would be Suspicious Minds with Elvis. Just to can imagine that camper van rocking with booze and.
It would be rocking. And with that in mind, before I ask you about the 5-a-side team that you'd have to pick, because you and I play 5-a-side regularly.
You're getting a lot out, mate.
Before you name the 5, though, best player you played against?
I would have to say, although he wasn't his best against us, but, I mean, played against a few when you think about it, but it was when we beat Germany with the salmon pink strips on.
Yep.
With Don Hutchinson and I up front, did pretty well in the game, and Luther Matthäus was playing sweeper, and we actually gave him a hard time, but you could see just some of the times, my word, what a player.
Yeah.
Played against a lot, Peter. I mean, there's probably ones I'm forgetting about, like you play against, but he was top drawer, wasn't he?
And the best player you played with?
Oh, jeez. I would... Could have been, and I was signed because of him, was Michael Moles. If he could have been like the Larson was for Celtic.
Yeah, he was special.
Aye, and I never saw the best of Michael. I saw it in glimpses, and some days his knee was fine when he come back, some days it blew up. But my word, if you're talking player, all round, a bit of everything, for me, he was going to get a big move from Rangers at some point, because he was class. Okay,
and to finish, the bit that gives you the grief, you've played with the right few. Who's your goalie in your 5-a-side team?
I've named an 11 before, but I'm going to, it's a 5-a-side team, and I'm going to have to go with technical players. You'll not be surprised, no, you're not making it.
Yep. I'm happy with that.
You're all right with that?
I can take that in the chin, only because I know there are 2,500 in front of me that are not making it as well.
My goal, I mean, so many good goalkeepers. Leighton, Gorham, Al McGregor, Steve Dykstra, Andy Rhodes. I mean, you could go right through it. There's loads. Snelders, Nicky Walker, but the one I would go for, shot stopping. I know everybody goes, he should stop, but he was unbelievable. And the reason why I saw him play a game against Sweden at Ibrox was Jim Leighton, because he single-handedly saved us. Larsson played in the game, and we won 1-0. And how we won it, I don't know, because he brought off 6-7 unbelievable saves. He was that good late. So at his peak.
Leighton, good. The 4.
Again, I'll have to leave a few out of my 11, but the one that was incredible. I'm going to go one defender then.
Right.
And he's a mate of mine, but unbelievable player. So underrated was Craig Moore. He had everything.
Right.
I mean, pace, strength, wasn't the biggest, leaper, aggression, could handle the ball. And I want people in my 5-a-side team who can handle the ball.
So Muro's in there.
Yep.
You've now got 3 who are technical, who are all geared up to scoring.
Yep. Right, 2 guy. I stayed with him for 6 months when my house was getting done up, when I moved to Rangers in Glasgow, and wee guy smoked and all that. I'm like, how can you play like that when you smoke? Every time we saw him, oh, Billy, I'd just go for a quick flag outside that. Any problem, 2 guy. Stayed in the hotel together, great lad. What a reception he got when we played Galatasaray. Incredible, never seen anything like it in my life. Had to hold the game up for 10 minutes, clearing the flowers. But don't get near him in a box. Unbelievable, Velcro boots.
Yeah.
So I'm going with 2 guy in the middle of the park. And that leaves me... And I'll go with 2 in the middle of the park and 1. I was going to go for wingers, but you'll be amazed to know I'm no. Mickey Hazard.
Right, there's a great
Very light 2 guy.
Yeah.
Very light 2 guy, Velcro boots. Used to come into the Harlington training ground, great with the young boys, stand and just keep a ball up and do tricks while he was asking all the boys what they did for the weekend. And I mean, it would last 15 minutes. Great with the young boys, gave them time, was unbelievable, rangy passing, free kicks in the top bin, Velcro, very light 2 guy. I mean, what a player. You had to see Mickey Hazard to believe it.
And the one player up front, I cannot wait for you to tell me, who is the man that's getting the nod out of all the...
Well, it's got to be Mikey Moles.
Moles?
I can't say that he was probably the best I've played with, and then no put him in my team. He could have just been anything that I never had seen before. I've played with really good strikers. You've started with Keith Wright, you went through them. I could go through Shearer's, Windases. I'm forgetting a few at Rangers, you know, wee Rod Wallace.
Yeah.
And you're going on to a better level then, and no disrespect to the other boys. Big Shell Olofsson at Dundee United was great, but this guy he could have been on another planet.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Celtic fans talk about Henrik Larsson, and rightly so. That's how high I put Mikey Moles when he was playing, when he got his injury. I think it was against Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
it was the only way I got to Ibrox and signed for Rangers was because Michael Moles got injured.
Yeah.
And he's my striker.
Billy, it was well worth the wait, pestering the life out of you to come in here and talk about your career, because it's been a joy. Goal scoring, of course, off the park, on the park, internationals, hearing great tales from you. A joy. Thanks, Billy Dodds.
Pleasure, Peter.
Top man.